Hello, today we'll be going over the S-Corp Tax Organizer. This is especially important if you are filing your 1120S the very first time. So in the general information section, you will have to fill out the legal name of the S Corporation, your employer's identification number, your S Corporation business address, the name of S Corporation representative, which is usually the owner or the president of the company, your principal business activity, your principal product or service, and of course, the date of when you start your business. The other important section is your accounting method. You do need to disclose or choose your method of accounting, which is cash or accrual. Next, we're going to the specific questions section.
So with this section, there are a lot of important questions here, but I would like to focus on three particular ones. So the first one starts as, at any time during the year, did the corporation have an interest in or signature authority over a financial account in a foreign country? So essentially this question is asking you whether you do have any accounts outside the US. If you do, there will be certain disclosure and certain information we will need from you. The second question, does the corporation satisfy the following conditions? So these two conditions are essentially if your gross receipts are at least 250 grand or more, same with your total assets. Because if they are, there will be additional disclosure on something called Schedule L of this tax return. The third question that we have is, did the corporation pay $600 or more of non-employee compensation to any individual? If so, then we will need the Form 1099 NEC for each one you have issued, as this is a requirement by the IRS. So the next section we're going to look at is the principal shareholders ownership information. This is important because when this 1120S tax return is completed, there will be something called a Schedule K1, which you will need to issue to your shareholders. And you will see, in order to prepare this, we will need the name and title, the tax ID number, address, ownership percentage, the shareholder stock basis, and whether this shareholder is a US citizen. So the next subsection we're going to look at is the shareholders. So any shareholder of this company, we will need the shareholder's name, the wages paid, the health insurance premiums paid, capital contributions for any shareholder, distributions to the shareholder, shareholder loans to the corporation, and lastly, loans repaid by the corporation to the shareholder.
Now, we get asked this question a lot when people come to us to have us prepare 1120S. They often ask us whether they can just give us Excel of their business expenses and their business income. Now, the best practice is if you can use some sort of accounting software like Xero or QuickBooks, and if you can generate financial statements such as income statements, or sometimes we call it profit and loss statement, and the balance sheet, it will actually make it much more easier in terms of continuity and also reporting the accurate information, because when you maintain accounting system, then you are able to perform proper reconciliation as check and balances to make sure that your financial statements are in fact complete and accurate. The second portion is, in order to report your payroll information, it is important that in the process of reporting your payroll and wages, that reconciliation is done to tie all the payroll expenses to Form W3, 940, 941, and state quarterly tax filing reports. The last part that we have mentioned earlier is, of course, the payments made to independent contractors. If you have issued any 1099 NEC or 1099 MISC, we do strongly recommend that you provide us a copy, because this is one of the mandatory compliance as an S corporation. For those of you who are new in filing your S corporation tax return, please know that if you start filing your S corporation, it's important for you to disclose the date of your S corporation election. Usually, the process is you would submit a Form 2553, and once your S status is approved, you do get a notification from the IRS of the approval of your S election. On the second page, this is a page where you will compile all the financial information of your S corporation to report to the Internal Revenue Service. So this page highlights components of financial statements that you have to disclose, and they include S corporation balance sheet, S corporation income, cost of goods sold, and business expenses. So now we're going to talk about the S corporation balance sheet.
So what the balance sheet is it's going to show what your value of your assets are at year end, and also your debts and equity. So on the assets, of course, as you go down this list, everyone does have a bank account balance, so you want to make sure to disclose that. Anyone who is actually on the accrual basis will have accounts receivable at the end of the year. There are also inventories, loans to shareholders, and so forth on this list. So if you look at the second section, which is the debts and equity, once again, if you are on accrual basis, you will have accounts payable at year end. I'm sure you might have some payables within a year or more than a year, especially those who have PPP loans, so there will need to be disclosure on that. In addition, there are also the stock that you have and your retained earnings.
Next, we're going to talk about the income portion. There'll be two kinds of income. The income that you receive from your customers, that is income received from your regular trade or regular business activities. And if you notice on this section, we're also asking business owners to also submit your other 1099 forms, and they would be investment income such as interest income, dividend income, any capital gain or losses that you may have. So the typical forms that you will receive from your financial institution would be 1099 INT, 1099 DIV, and 1099-B. Let's talk about the section of cost of goods sold. If you sell products, and there will be direct costs that you spend to produce every single unit of product that you sell to your customer, then obviously you have to track your inventory, and because of that you would have to know your cost of purchases, your cost of direct labor, your direct material costs, obviously your inventory balance beginning of the year as well as the end of the year.
The next section we're going to look at is the S corporation expenses. This is really important because all these expenses that you disclose are going to help to offset any income that you have. So a lot of business owners, they will have advertising. They will also have officers' compensation. In addition, there's going to be insurance, particularly business insurance, and of course internet, because this is the year 2022. The section that I kind of want to look a little bit more particular are the meals. So any meals that you purchase within the restaurant for business purposes are 100% deductible. Outside that, it is just going to be 50%. So you will notice those two boxes there. So of course, with officers' compensation, there will also be payroll taxes. And then of course, everyone does have a cell phone and utilities that they pay for business purposes.
So next we're going to talk about car expenses. In general, there are two different methods. If you look at the section here, there's a mileage section and there's an actual expense section. So mileage refers to how many miles you're driven for business purpose. So depending on your situation, if you have a home office, then obviously any miles that you drive from your office to your clients or suppliers, that will be considered a business trip. If you have an office and you don't have a home office because you don't work from home, and some people do not like to work from home, then obviously you can't consider your commute as a business trip. Your business trip will start from your office to your client site or your supplier's location. Now let's go over the actual expenses. The actual expenses are a little different from the mileage method because you will charge your direct costs such as your gas, your insurance, your parking fees, your tolls, your repairs, or even the cost of purchase of your business vehicle. Now, in that scenario, you would have to track your business usage percentage, meaning even if you are recording your actual expenses, you would still have to know how many business miles that you are driven, because from there, you will be able to quantify the percentage of deduction that you're allowed to take or you're eligible to take as your car expenses. If you need to refer to different ways of maximizing your auto deductions, please check out this series.
So the last section we'll be looking over is going to be the equipment purchases. So those of you who are taking the actual expenses and have a vehicle you want to depreciate, you will want to record this here. Of course, you put the name of the vehicle, the date you purchase, the cost of the vehicle, and when you place it in service, and whether it's new or used. In addition to the vehicles, any assets that you purchase that are over $2,500 in value, you will want to report them here as well.
Congratulations, we're now on the last page. So the first section of last page, we talk about equipment sold. Obviously, if you own a business and you purchase business assets, when you dispose your asset or when you sell your assets to a third party, then you do have to disclose what is the selling price. If you trade in, please provide us the value, what's the date sold, and date out of service, meaning you no longer use the equipment. Next, we're going to talk about S-Corporation business credits.
So within this section, the two questions I kind of want to put more focus on will be the first one, which is, did the corporation pay any FICA on employee wages for tips above minimum wage? So of course, this one does apply to restaurant owners. So if you do, then of course you will be eligible for the business credit here. The second question that I want to look at is, did the corporation incur any research and experimental expenditures during the tax year? So essentially, if your business is involved with any R&D efforts, this is going to be important because there are significant credits associated with this.
For the year 2021, when you file your tax return, it is also important to look at all the COVID-19 related loans or other credits that you may have received, such as the forgiveness of your Paycheck Protection Program loan, if you have any EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or if you receive any EIDL advance through the SBA, please make sure that you either obtain the statement and let us know if there's interest that you have paid, because those will be recorded as a deduction. If you have any delayed payment of employer payroll taxes, you do also have to tell us, because we will have to disclose that accordingly. And last but not least, which is the most exciting portion, is the employee retention credit. If your business has experienced any reduction in your revenue, or if you are forced to suspend your operation due to COVID, please also let us know, because chances are we might be able to claim the employee retention credit, and the credit will come in as a refund to help boost your working capital or operations of your business. And this is the S-Corporation Tax Checklist and Organizer. Very much appreciate if you have followed the video to this point, which means you are equipped with all the fundamental information and knowledge that you need to know in order to prepare your 1120S. As usual, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We would love to help you. Thank you.